Mark and I using virtual assistants for the last 12 years in our businesses, owning the business since 2017, the virtual assistant company. One of the biggest bottlenecks that we found is actually the management of virtual assistants. If it's you as owner of the company or if it's a manager of yours, one of the things that we're doing is we're working always on more and more systems to help your virtual assistants and help you manage people, as well as what you guys should be doing and how you can manage at a much higher level. For the first thing that you want to think about is managing effective virtual assistants should be the same as assistants that are in your office. It's just a little bit different on how it's done, but it's the same concept. So as you would talk to assistants in your office, you are going to talk to virtual assistants. A lot of people want to know, how do you and Mark do it? And how can you live in two different countries and run your entire companies through virtual assistants? You don't have anybody in-house. How do you guys do it? And we want to learn how. Number one, you need to build trust and accountability of your virtual assistants. A lot of us, we have to figure out what our personality is, but one of the things is we know who we are and we know what we need in our company depending on the different roles. And that's what we also try to help all of our clients with. So for me, I'm a very high D, that I'm in the 1 percentile of the highest Ds that there are. So I'm very direct, I'm demanding, authoritative, I expect a lot. My personality is very strong. And then my next personality is a high C, which is very more detailed. So it's systems and processes and things like that. One of the things with a high D personality, the two biggest things that we don't want is somebody wasting our time or somebody taking something from us or stealing or however you want to say it. So that even means virtual assistants, making sure that we trust them. And I don't want to sit there, like I said, and micromanage them. So I'm making sure all of our systems and processes to work on their own, get their jobs done at a high level. And how do we make sure that happens? It's ensuring that there's measurable processes in place, basically daily and weekly meetings, key performance indicators, and accountability. Communication has to be very strong. You think that you can talk to assistants once a week or twice a week, but as companies, you guys are going to have to train on your specific things that you want a virtual assistant to do. Most of you know that I have been a coach for 14 years. In 14 years, I have never met anybody, any owner of any company that has run their business the same. Train what we think is the most important, and we train as a company, and then we do additional training if you guys need it, hiring somebody. What is the virtual assistant team process? Number one, when you're figuring out, is track everything that you are doing or you need replacement for. And if it's a manager that you want to take off a bunch that works for you so that they can focus on more productive activity and not task things that are over and over again, you want to go ahead over a week period of time. You want to track everything that's being done, everything that I was doing in the business, everything that Mark was doing in the business. And we'd track it out hour by hour, broke it down if we needed to every 15 minutes. And then over a week, we could figure out, wow, 95% of what we were doing should not have been what we were doing. And we needed to be doing things that was bringing in new business, sales, marketing, training, and hiring. None of this other task-oriented things. You need to continue to do that over and over again. Still, 12 years later, we still do this all the time. This is bringing in additional finances to the company, additional revenue, strategic marketing. But me as a business owner, I need to know about marketing because every company is based around marketing, and I need to put in the plan. Maybe it's with the marketer, maybe it's with a virtual assistant or whoever it is. So you should be working on that and training, training different positions within the company. If you're not changing that outcome, you shouldn't be doing it. Then you want to create a job description of all of those things that are things that you shouldn't be doing. When we first started the virtual assistant company too, and when we first started, we kind of put everything together as one virtual assistant. And we found out that that does not work very well. So somebody who's customer service or inside sales agent is not the same person that is your marketer assistant or your video editor. Those are different personalities, different skill sets. You definitely have to think through that. And of course, then the one thing you want to do is anything that you're doing currently or your manager or other people that you're going to record yourself on Zoom or Loom. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go through it. And maybe it takes 15 or 20 minutes. I don't know, whatever it takes. And I'm going to record myself on every single thing that I'm going to want to hand off to that virtual assistant. So you should have a video recording on everything that you want the virtual assistant to do. Now, should you still train them? Probably at least once, depending on how hard it is. Absolutely. But then they can go back to videos to watch again if they need more help on that specific thing. Now, of course, then what you're doing is you're taking things that you want done daily. So you're going to make a list of things that you want the virtual assistant to do daily, weekly, monthly, and then projects. So they're always working on the projects. I always put due dates. So if it's a project, our team, we have a lot of virtual assistants on our team. I give them shorter time periods to get quite a bit done, but there's quite a few of them. I am giving them time frames. Now, if they can't get it done, they need to come to you and they need to say, hey, I need more time. Always wanting that communication if they can't get something done. Because a lot of the time, we don't know how long it's going to take somebody to do things. You always want to make sure that that communication is there. At first, when you hire and they're onboarded and you have a virtual assistant, you've gone through the onboarding process, you want to make sure that you are training them on everything specific that you want them to do. I would do it once, at least, depending on how hard it is, and then always have a recorded training that they can go back to. But the daily check-ins, the daily brick meeting. And now, is that okay? The first 30 days? Absolutely. But hopefully by that time that you've gotten now into daily, weekly, monthly things that they need to do, and then you have projects that they're always working on. And so hopefully if you're doing this into accountability, you're not going to need that because number one, it's cutting into their time and it's cutting into your time. So you've got to make sure that they understand what you need. And then over time, you're meeting with them less and less. And then you have weekly departmental meetings and leadership meetings, only meetings that I'm personally involved in. So when we travel to Greece, for example, many of those weeks, I work just 5 hours and any of the virtual assistants that are on our team can attest to that. And I only have 3 hours of meetings, sometimes 2. The rest, they're sending me reports to review. But how do I work less hours? And that's because of the accountability and the things that are put in place. You want a start of the day and an end of the day reports daily from the virtual assistant. Tell them what you expect. And then you want accountability and progress reports monthly. You want to create quarterly goals. So we have quarterly goals all the time. Everybody on our team has at least 2 to 3 quarterly goals that we're always working on. And every single week, they're determining how much of that quarterly goal they still have left to complete. Here is an example of an organizational chart. No matter what business you're in, they're very similar. You have a CEO or the visionary, and then you have the integrator or the COO. Was in both of those pretty much for a really long time. If you are in more than 3 seats, and you may be in all of them right now, and that's okay, but you want to get down to 3 or less of leading department. We have CEO, COO, then we have marketing, we have sales, operation, human resource, and finance. Now, this is just in the virtual assistant company. The big thing is that I want to tell you here is that these are the people that are in charge of each department. If you see, Mark has 2 departments and Aylin has 2 departments. For example, in the sales department, Aylin oversees it, but she's not actually doing the sales. And you might say, well, why is that? That's kind of weird. Well, it's because Aylin makes sure everything gets done, and she's very good at making sure it gets done. But Anne, for example, and Mark actually sit in the sales positions. There's a lot of people in each of these departments. But the first thing that you want to look at is an organizational chart. If you do not have one, you absolutely need one so you can figure out who is in charge. When I show you this, it's all broken down. And the VAs should all have their own things that they might not be in charge of a department, but they should know exactly where they lie within your organizational chart. Here's some things that will help you. And I'm breaking it down even more. For me, it's the big ideas. It's the big relationships. It's creative problem solving, the culture and the research and development. And that's really the things that I focus on. Now, I don't necessarily do all the research. I have Anne, for example, will do some, or Aylin or Kate or whoever will do a lot of that research. But I'm the one who's in charge of getting it done. That's what this is. It's the right-hand person of me that's actually holding, leading, managing the profit and loss, removing obstacles, special projects. So marketing. What does Mark oversee in marketing, for example? He oversees events, the lead generation, the content creation, the content content distribution, brand management, and websites. He doesn't do all that, and I'm going to show you. Nobody does all this. But what it is done is it's broken down. Lynn, overseeing the sales department, she oversees the lead management, the appointments, referrals, follow-up. She just makes sure that it's all being done. Same with operations. Kate, inside sales, any type of cold calling, customer service, creative, testimonials, VA coach replacement, whatever's needed. And in HR, onboarding process. She doesn't do the onboarding. Janet does more onboarding, but she makes sure that it's being done. And the training and the recruitment, hire and fire reviews. Now, Ann doesn't do all of this, but she makes sure that it's being done. And then finance, actually, like, for example, Kate and Mark, because Kate is in charge of having meetings with Mark every other week to go over all the deposits made, what are the expenses, going over all of our expenses, everything that we do in and out of the bank account, bookkeeping, IT, office. Mark works with the CPA. He does all of our quarterly deposits. He works with everything that you can imagine. Here's marketing. So look at the marketing. So Mark, even though he oversees the marketing department, look how it's broken down. If you notice in marketing, you have Ann that's in charge of the website. So Mark is going to Ann and saying, hey, these are the things that we need. If they want to change the website, update the website, Ann will bring back ideas. And Mark, so they'll work together and we'll work on it on our marketing calls every week as well. And then Mark might have just a call with Ann on just the website if there are things that need to be done. Brand management. So that is Ann as well. And that's our logos and our consistency and our use. And across the board, when you are looking at the virtual assistant company, how do we show up? What does that look like? What do our logos look like? Ann has worked hard at putting together, taking a lot of what Chris Doe taught us for our logos and helping us build it out. And she may use Raphael to help her out because really Raphael is a coach as well. And he is more in creative realm than really Ann. So she'll use who she needs to help her out. So you got to remember, this isn't just Ann that's going to do all of it. She's going to pull in other people that can help her out. And they work together as a team to make sure this gets done. Content distribution, that's Raphael. Now, he doesn't just do that himself. He uses Marmil to help him, but he has to make sure that all of this is, and I think there's like 28 a day that he posts. He is really good at helping with training and matching people and coaching. And so he has a lot that he's managing, but he's just making sure things are getting done at a high level. But the thing is once you have the job description and then they can see the organizational chart and then you have weekly meetings for accountability, let them go. Just make sure they're getting done. Events. So Mark chose me to be in charge when we have events, that I am the one who has to really communicate at the conferences and masterminds and meetings and GoBundance and develop those relationships and other things out there like, Cody Sanchez and Ryan Pineda and all of those. I'm the one I'm more of the relationship builder. Remember, big relationships, right? And then Mark is actually in charge of more of the lead gen, making sure that we're getting enough leads for the sales department. Because if you're not getting enough leads, the sales department can't do what they need to do. So he's always working on how to make our lead better and how to get more of them. He's working on webinars and retargeting and things like that. And then content creation. Mark has done, I have slowed down on my content creation in the past month or so, and Mark has picked it up and his videos are killing it. Mark's kicking them out of the park. But always be thinking of how can we make the best people in the best positions? And right now, I think Mark can help me, and even the ads. So we're running paid ads. So that's just the marketing department. But you see how he's in charge. So when the marketing department isn't doing well, Mark is ultimately the one in charge of that. But look at how the breakdown is. And that's with everything. So sales. Lynn oversees the sales department. She makes sure that we have the reports, the follow-up, no leads left behind. She is always looking at the scripts, listening to calls, and working with these guys in the sales department. So you don't have to actually have the person in charge be the actual one that is doing it. So for example, Ann is really good in the sales department. She wasn't really good on some of those details. What I mean about figuring out what people are really good at and putting them in that position. Now we find that the leads, very few get left behind. She's always making sure that the follows ups there and everything else. But lead management. So Macy, we started a new CRM. We had Commissions Inc. for 12 years. And now we have Lofty. And we are also using a little bit of Go High Level for some of our marketing. But Macy is the one that is in charge of the leads, making sure that everything's happening. No leads left behind in the database, and tracking, input, scheduling, setting up appointments, following up, confirmation, all of these things. When it's it's not happening, it's going to Macy. Same with up top here, Google, videos, written follow-up websites. See how it's all broken down into who's in charge of what? You've got Anne that's in charge of appointments, sales process, Zoom calls, just discuss, terms, send contracts. So Mark and Anne both do inquiry appointments. And then we actually track what is Anne's conversion compared to what is Mark's conversion. Whose is better? Because do we need to work with Anne more? Do we need to work with Mark more? Or do we need, sometimes I do them, not a lot, but I do them sometimes. Or do we need Kristin to not do them or be more involved? So you have to track all of this stuff to see what needs to be done better. And it's all in communication. Long-term follow-up is Macy and Janet. Both of them are very, very good at that. Making the phone calls, the text messages, the emails. Actually, Anne creates the newsletters, and we're doing more and more newsletters now. And we're looking at the open ratio. And then we're looking at, do we need to put in more links or less links? What are they clicking on? What are they not clicking on? I will tell you this, from coaching for all the years, people do not pay attention to a lot of their numbers, and they do not track a lot of their numbers. You've got to do this, because this is where you can, as an owner of the company or as high up in the company, you can make those decisions and help with the outcome. But if you don't have the tracking, you're not going to be able to help with the outcome. So these are the things that I'm always looking at. What's the follow-up? What was clicked on? What wasn't clicked on? Did we get any calls? Did we make any appointments from that? Prospecting, also Macy and Janet. Following up with long-term clients, getting on the phones, text messages, emails, contracts. All of those are being done by different people. But the person who oversees it is Aylin. But if you look at this in sales, Aylin is not in any of these spots. She's just overseeing the entire department that makes sure everybody else is doing their job.
Do you use any software or tools to monitor or record the hours that remote employees spend working on their computers?
Okay.
So we don't. We do predict productivity reports, which basically is the goal is to make sure everybody's at least above 85 or at 85%, or close to it. For productivity, what's the next question? Are the PowerPoints available for that? We can just work on that later. That's it.
So in productivity, so that's a good question. If you are having, first of all, have I gone back and forth with using something to track on their computer? You better believe it. And I've told the VAs that. Okay. And that's pretty much all I've had to do. So the thing is it does slow the computer down. Okay. And especially if they're editing and things like that. But productivity reports, if you have a problem with the virtual assistant, can it be fixed? Okay, because what we mean by productivity reports, and we do these often, is where they are tracking everything that they do in an entire week and how long it takes them. Okay, and then what they're doing is, are they working? Are they being productive at least 85% of the time? And that's really what you want. 85% of the time so if they're working 8 hours, are they 85% productive in their work? That's what we do. And if they aren't, there is a problem, and we need to fix that problem. There are a few clients that do use Time Doctor or something like that, but they know it's slowing down the computers. Okay. Hopefully, if you put the things in place, like what I'm talking about, you're not going to have issues, because we don't, for the most part. And if I do have an issue, like for example, while they're working on the hours that they're working for me, for example, we have a Google chat that everybody uses as a time clock. So whenever they come in, they use it. Whenever they leave, they use all of them. Okay, all of them use the same Google chat. And in, and then bio for if they have to go to the bathroom. If lunch, they go lunch, back. If they're anytime, so it's a big communicate, and it can be Slack, it can be anything. But we just tend to use, Mark and I just like this better. And if I'm looking for somebody, I expect them to respond to me during the time that they're working in no more than 10 minutes maximum. Okay. Unless they're on break. Or in like, let's say they have a power outage and they're getting their backup computer or something, but it better be in that in and out or they better be responding to me. And they know that. If there is a problem and they aren't, I have a problem with that person. What were you saying, Mark?
Yeah, they asked to see the productivity report. I got it pulled up. I can show it real fast. If you want.
Okay.
This is what a productivity report looks like. Monday, this is what they spent doing. We figure out the times, and then the productivity gives them a score. So 137%, that's too high, because there actually is a too high. So what's going on here? It could be us, it could be them. They could be working extra hours, because what did we tell you? We wanted it 85%. This is closer. This is more realistic. So what happened on these 2 days? These days are kind of like, let's watch and see. Maybe we assigned them too much time for it. Maybe we can adjust it for that. But there's just something there. Like maybe they're working extra hours, because this is the goal. He was to work 8 hours a day. And he did all this in 8 hours for editing, TLBAs, whatever it was. And then he has to track it for the week. And then it gives us a score. So that's what a productivity report looks like.
The big thing here, guys, are we able to share a productivity report with them to use?
A blank one? Probably.
So the reason why you say when it's too much is that's when they're missing things. That's when there's mistakes happen. That's when they're too stressed out, or we've given them too much time. They're working like
there's something wrong. So when we're getting that, if it's one day, you're like, okay, something happened. But you see how it was Monday and Wednesday where it was really, really high. There's something off, and it could be just any number of things. And when you see that gives you a key to, hey, they're working too much for it, or maybe I gave them too much time. So.
Yeah. And the thing is and I want you to look at this stuff. So I want you to think, okay, what is first of all, I need my job descriptions. Then I need my onboarding. Then I need to say, okay, what's my organization? And you probably, like I said, you're probably in like Mark and I were in all seats at first, forever, for a long time. Okay. And then, how long should it take them to do things? And that's where the coaches, your success coaches, which all of you, all of you have with us, your success coaches can help you figure this out, because most of them have been with us for years and years and years and years, up to 10 years. Okay. And they already, they're on my coaching calls. They're learning how to work with you guys. And the thing is they can help you figure these things out if you need it. Okay. Because the biggest thing that people need to know is, how long does it take somebody to do something? All of these guys know how long it should take, depending on if you guys are going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, then obviously it's going to take a lot longer. But on average, how long should something take? We know. Okay. We've been doing these productivity reports for a long time, and how long things should take, we figure out all the time. So we know how long things should take if there's an issue. So you should always be tracking, how long does things take? So again, this is the different things that different people are in charge of. Okay. So you've got like ISA, Janet, Macy, and Aylin. They train on it. They coach on it. Basically, Kate, Ann, Janet, Macy, and Aylin have all been very, very, very good ISAs. Customer service, ISAs, they've all been really good at that at one time. Now, Ann was like 10 years ago, but she also trained, and she's very good at it because she did it for a long time, right? So all of these guys are good at a lot of things. Like Raphael, people say how awesome Raphael is all the time with helping them in marketing and videos and a lot of different things, because he trains a lot of our team on a lot of stuff. So they love Raphael coming into their business every month to help them. You've got, Macy, who's really good at the CRM and helping there, and Janet. And I mean, all these guys have a lot of help. So they're always trying to bring it to you, but you guys have to tell us what you need. And that's the VAs and the managers or anybody else. Okay. HR, Anne. So you've got Janet in recruitment, onboarding, you have the coaches, termination coaches, in-house reviews, Kate, in-house benefits, Aylin, in-house termination. So even though Anne oversees it, there's a lot of people that are involved in all of it. Okay, so just remember that. You just want the person in charge needs to be the person that's going to make it all happen. That you're not going to have to micromanage as a manager or an owner. You're not going to have to micromanage that department. And we've changed up these departments, guys, like I said, quite a bit. I don't want to have to go and worry about the operations department. I want to make sure Kate's doing a great job at that I don't have to worry about that. And then on our weekly meetings, something big that they can't handle or they need help with creative, fixing something or whatever, then they bring it to my attention. Okay. Or if it needs to be sooner, it can be. But I want to make sure that Aylin is on the sales department and she's listening to calls and figuring out because of our we track everything, guys. So we know exactly what our conversion ratios are, what it costs us for everything. We know all of that. So, we can make the right decisions on those things. In finance, I want Mark to make sure that, that he's really good at knowing our numbers and knowing and working with, Kate on payroll and billing and things and making sure that that's all really, really good and making sure save money in, money out, What do you look at in that department a lot, Mark? Marketing and your two departments, marketing and finance, what are the things that you really focus on?
Money. So money in, top line revenue, how much money's in, how much money's going out, what are the expenses? Always trying to check because we have certain expenses, QuickBooks charges is something which are pretty similar. If there's a range that changes, it's a red flag. And then with marketing, we're looking at how many appointments we get, obviously leads. That's the thing we talk about all the time. Leads coming in, how many appointments do you set from the leads? How many leads did you actually hold the appointment, et cetera, for it. Couple things about this is I don't go back to that. Can you go back to that, what you just had up?
Oh, there you go.
So this is not, the org chart is not, these are not the people doing it. These are the people to make sure it's done. There's actually people underneath us doing the reports because I am not doing the bookkeeping. We actually have our accountant do that. I'm not doing the reports, the profit and loss, our accountant does it, the IT, somebody else does it. So I don't do it. So this is an org chart. It's not me. It's not necessarily Aylin doing it. It's not Kate necessarily doing it. They're in charge of it. There are actually people underneath. Sometimes, especially in the marketing department, I have like 4 or 5 other people working underneath it that are actually doing this stuff. So I think that's something we need to notice because I know that was one of the questions in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's why if you remember, Kristin said one throat to choke. That's why. So I talk about a sales department. How many people are in your sales department? Well, if they all screw up the sales and there's 20, you only have 2 hands. How many throats can you choke with 2 hands? Yeah. So in this one, it's one person in charge. I can put both hands on their throat. That's kind of the thinking process of why we say one throat to choke.
We have 4 people in our sales department that besides Aylin. Okay. And so what are each of them doing? This is the stuff that you've got to be talking about every single week. So let's get to it. Daily brick meetings. Everybody should be in your daily brick meeting. Your COO should run it. It should last no more than 15 minutes. It actually should last 10, even 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how many people are in it. If there are 15 people in it, it's going to probably last 10 or 15 minutes. But the big thing that you're doing in a daily brick meeting is, number one, is one person, just one win from the day before. Okay. So not everybody, just one. Hey, what's one win that somebody can say from the day before? And let's say Macy goes, I made 4 appointments yesterday. Yeah. Because we want to start off on a positive note. Right? Then, now remember, we have meetings in each of those departments. So remember, we have an operations meeting every single week. We have a leadership meeting every single week. We have a sales meeting every single week. We have a marketing meeting every single week. And I'm going to get into those more. but we have a finance every other week and HR like once a month. And then a lead or a CEO, COO meeting once a week. Okay. So those are where you're talking about issues to solve. This is issues that need to be handled today. Okay. So this is something like we have a customer issue that must be handled today, and I need your help. And because this is kind of giving the COO what they should be doing for the day. This is how, well, they need to be doing a lot, but this is like, does the COO need to get involved, and does this need to be handled today? That's the only thing that should be talked about in this meeting. So number one, we have a win. Number two, we go around. What are the issues that need to be handled today? Is there something that needs to be handled? Anybody who has something that has to be handled right now, today, or whatever, that should be talked about. And then the third thing is everybody in the meeting should have a KPI, a daily KPI. Okay. Key performance indicator. So for example, an editor, if you're doing 4 or 5 reels a day, how many reels did they do yesterday? I did 3. Okay. Why? What was the problem? Like, we got to figure out the issues, right? So but we're not asking in that meeting. We're just asking them their KPI. What is your KPI? Because that should be something that tells us if they were able to get their job done yesterday. So let's say Macy is supposed to make 2 appointments a day or 3 appointments a day. How many appointments did you make yesterday, Macy? 3. Perfect. And so you just go around from one person to one. Then you're tracking it. And then if they're not meeting it, because they should all have a key performance indicator. And if they're not meeting it, then from day to day, you're not looking at one day, but maybe you're looking at, consistently. Why? Is it because we're expecting too much? Is it because we're giving them too much? Or is it because we need to work with them? Okay. So you're always looking at that. Weekly departmental meetings. Those are an hour. Okay. So for example, the first thing that they're reviewing is they're going over. So we have a operations meeting is every Tuesday because the leadership meeting is every Wednesday. In the operations meeting, all those people that you saw that are in charge of things are on this meeting. Okay. And it's being led by Kate. Okay. Because Kate is the one who's in charge of operations. So all of the numbers should be filled out, all of the, this is basically how the meeting is. So the KPIs are reviewed, any current projects they're discussing or things, everybody who is on that org chart is in this meeting. Defining any bottlenecks, okay? And that's basically what's happening during this meeting. And again, we start with a win. We always start with a win, okay? And then, the outcome is improved collaboration across all departments, clear next steps, what needs to be done. Do you want to add anything to that, Kate or Mark or Aylin or anybody?
Yeah, we just need to make sure that we are doing the recitations. That's why it's only or for operation department meetings. So we wanted to make sure that we're also addressing those issues on that and making goal settings.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm not on those meetings, guys, so I don't even know everything that happens. All I'm looking at, numbers. What do we need to change? I'm looking at big picture of stuff, right? So I don't even know what happens in those meetings. I know when there is big issues that they can't, or big things that need to happen. Okay. This is an example of a sales meeting agenda. Remember, every week we're doing a sales meeting. So we're doing a win from the last week. This is just an example template, 1 to 2 minutes. Okay. Sales training, objection handling, call scripts. So in the sales, are we listening? So pretty much, are we listening? Are we doing the presentation? Are we listening to Ann or Mark or Macy or Janet? Are we listening to their calls? Are we handling objectives? Where they feel like, man, I did not do a great job at this. Can you listen to it and give me feedback? Should somebody else call them? And then we're doing objection handling and training during that hour call. Okay. We're going over the numbers. How many contacts did we make? How many, conversion ratios, next steps, role playing, reviewing sales metrics, and then setting goals for the upcoming week and addressing any questions or concerns. Okay. Always end the meeting with rating it a 1 to a 3. Always end every meeting with rating it a 1 to a 3. That a 3 means you stayed on track, you got a lot accomplished, and you feel awesome about the outcome of that meeting. And always end on a positive note. Okay, so positive quote or positive something should be ending every single meeting. Because we always want to, they can get heated sometimes. If we have a lot of stuff that we need handled, or if things got dropped, if issues got dropped, we need to handle these things. We need to get it done, and we need the help from the team. And so we're in there and we're busting out what we need to do. And then we need to end it on everybody positive. Let's get back to work. Let's move on. Let's make it happen. Here's the goal. Now, you track everything on these meetings through Asana. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. Guys, feel free, any of our team, our in-house team, to add anything, because again, I'm on these meetings, but anything that I'm not saying or that needs to be said, please add. This is
just so they know, Asana does have a free version.
Okay.
So there is a paid version, but like you can get a free version of Asana, like whatever, that does more than enough in the beginning.
Yeah, you can create like 10 projects on the free Asana.
And I'm going to tell you this. I don't know how to use Asana. I don't want to ever know how to use Asana. I don't use Asana, but they do, and they make this all happen. Okay. I don't want to learn anything I don't have to learn. And I want to always be moving the business forward and getting a lot bigger from what I'm doing. And using Asana is not one thing that I need to learn how to do. Okay. Some people will say, oh, well, how do you do this? I don't know. I don't know. Marketing meeting. This is an example. Okay. So win from the last week, share, brief, positive outcome, review tracking. Again, we track everything. How many leads did we get? How many of those leads did we talk to? How many actually did we make an appointment? How many appointments showed up? How many said yes? Right? How many onboarding? Okay. And no matter what business you're in, this is all the same type of thing. This is all the same. Okay. Closings, pendings, whatever you've got going on. And then you're reviewing, you're always setting new goals. So we know that every week, how many new leads we want, what our conversion ratio should be. We know that every single week. Okay. Review previous week, completion status of this, right? What did we get done? And then you want to rate it, 1 to 3. Did we get done what we were supposed to get done? Who was assigned to what? They put into Asana who is assigned to what and when it's supposed to get done. So every week they're reviewing this. Were you able to meet the goal? If not, why? Okay. And then setting up new goals for the upcoming week in marketing, and looking at priorities for that, whatever that is. And then clarify the tasks. Do you need help? So it'd be like, Raphael, do you understand exactly what needs to be done? Yes. Do you have any questions? No. Clarifying, making sure they know what they need to do. And then you want to rate the meeting again, and always end with something positive. But, rating the meeting. Did we get everything accomplished? How was the outcome of the meeting? Every single person needs to rate that meeting. And hopefully they're 3s. And if not, then you say, okay, what could we have done? Not during the meeting, but then as the leader, you got to say, okay, what could we have done different? Okay. Any more questions right now, Mark? Okay. So the CEO and the COO meeting. So frequency 1 hour a week. Sometimes we do go a little bit over. Big issues that they need my help with. Kristin, can you help us with this? Kristin, this is what we're having issues with. And or Kristin, we're working on this. This is what we think needs to happen. This is what we've done. This is the research we've done. They just want like the icing on the cake sometimes, for me to say yes. Really discussing strategic priorities, company goals, just big things that are maybe employment issues. Do we have people on the team? Because we try to keep a really strong culture. Do we have people that are overwhelmed? Because we don't want overwhelmed on our team. And if they're overwhelmed, how can we help them? Okay. So anything that needs to happen at a high level happens during this meeting. Remember, this is the meeting I'm on, marketing I'm on, sales, some of the time I'm on. Okay. And then this is the leadership meeting. So everybody who leads a department is on this meeting. And basically it's an hour and a half. And everybody goes around, says a win for the week. They have stoplight reports that are numbers driven. They fill them in before. Do you want to explain this meeting, Mark?
You're talking about the win?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we started off, hey, everybody's got to give us a win. The key is start the meeting in a positive frame of mind. We do it in a different way, but the stoplight report is we have key indicators. So we need to generate X amount of leads every week. Did we get that many or did we not? So we did, so like, let's say we need to get 10 leads a week. Okay, we only got 9. Okay, that's not good. If it's 7, 8, and our goal's 10 a week.
Sorry, go ahead. I got to go back to my.
Can you stop sharing then?
Yeah.
So the point being is if your goal is 10 and this week you only got 9, then that's red. And then next week, if it's 6, you're like, didn't reach 10. And so what the stoplight report is, it basically breaks it down. So we go over that. We have all these indicators that we have to meet. And anytime it's red continuously, then it's kind of like, then we move it to issues. And issues are just that. Things that we need to bring up to go over with them. What's not working, what do we need to change? Here's what we've heard from clients, or here's what we've heard from employees to go over with. And then we have our goals that we go over with them to, what our goals are. So we have a quarterly goal. What are our every person has a quarterly goal, sometimes 2 or 3. How are we at with them? Have we met it? Because sometimes you'll meet the quarterly goal in the first week. Sometimes it'll take you all 90 days or in between, somewhere in between. How close are you done? So are you 10% done? Are you 30% done to do that? And then at the end, obviously, we rate the meeting 1 to 3. Everybody gives their own 1. And then they end it just with a positive quote, something to get it going. So that's kind of like what the tracker looks like. We've changed it a little bit to do it, but this is basic. If we're looking to hire, how many resumes did we get? How many calls were made? This is just stuff you put in there. You make the measurables your measurables, and which department's in charge of them. So leads would obviously be marketing. Conversions, so that means how many people actually showed up for an appointment. That would be sales. Do we agree with that? Like that. So we put it in based on department of sales department. Yep. We got 10 leads. The sales department set 7 appointments. Of those 7 appointments, 5 were held. That's sales department still to make sure they're held. And then how many signed up? That's sales department still. So even though Aylin's in charge of the sales department, Aylin's not doing all those steps.
And she's not the one it's Macy who's doing a lot of the tracking, right? So,
I'm just saying, like, she's not the one doing the calling necessarily. She's not the one on the appointments. She's not the one signing them up, but she's there to make sure that each person, a part of the process, is doing what they're supposed to be doing.
And I feel for example, when we had her oversee it, it was really good. But we also knew that she was not the right person to actually do the calls. So that's why you've got to look at it. And Aylin, everybody brings a lot to the table in our company. For us, but we have to figure out who is the right position for what? First of all, we say, okay, yeah, they're definitely it. But then we have to figure out, okay, what are they going to be the strength at? What are, like when we got Anne even more involved in some of the marketing, which was not her, what she was ever necessarily hired. She does really well in a lot of it, So everybody does good at certain things. You just got to figure out, is that right person for our team? And if so, we got to figure out who's best for what. And that's really important that you figure it out, because a lot of the time I was like, man, I really, really like that person. And I think that, when I mean like, I don't mean just person. I just feel that they're the right fit for our company. But man, I had them in the wrong position, and that happens a lot. So if you really feel that they're good for your company, then you got to figure out are they going to be best for you at. Now, all of these people fill in these numbers. So like Nelsie, for example, all these numbers before the win meeting happens. And there's all sorts of different reports that they fill in the numbers. And we have the goals of what those numbers should be. And then we see if they're met. If they're under target for more than like 3 weeks in a row, we got to look at it. Are our numbers should they be changed because these are not reachable goals? Or do we need to train in something more? Or what do we need to do? So it's really important that, and if we exceed the target all the time, maybe we need to change the numbers. Okay. So this is another thing that we do once a week, and it's called process mapping. And if you were on our call a few weeks ago or last week, right? Maybe it was last week with David, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
He actually went through exactly what process mapping is. So and guys, I am going to make this 2-part session because there's way too much that I have to still cover. So I'm just going to finish with these weekly meetings. So a process mapping meeting is basically something that you're either it's 1 hour a week. That's it. You're either looking at things that fell through the cracks. So things that, man, we have the system, we have the process, and we didn't follow it as a team. Okay. Or, you know what? We did follow it, and this needs to be updated because this was no good. Okay. Anybody on that 1 hour call needs to be anybody that's involved with that process or system. Okay. So let's say it is sales. It'd be anybody in the sales department that would be a part of it. Now, we might be able to review more than one. So we'll have a list in order of what we need to do, and we spend 1 hour a week working on it. When you look at it that way, it is a game changer in your business because you're always looking to update, start a new process, or, and this is where you find your KPIs too, or in your processes. And I thought David did a really good job. He worked with Nancy last week and really went through this, but you should always be updating, reviewing, and making sure that people are being held accountable to the processes in your company. Okay. And then this is kind of what it looks like. So these are some of the processes. So post-webinar process, active webinar, weekly newsletter, webinar prep process, editing short form video in-house, social media strategy process, posting videos in-house, YouTube video creation process, conference process, location-based paid Facebook ads, retargeting process, real estate marketing process, marketing accountability. See, we have a process for everything. Now, is it being used? We got to make sure it's being used. Does it need to be updated? Does it need to be created, or does it need to be tweaked? We have an hour every week that we're working on this. And then this is kind of where it starts, for Google Business, right? Daily Google Business update, post 2 posts using template, 1 buyer, 1 seller, post 1 product, post 2 of the, so that is a process that we use every day. What does that look like? Okay. And then this is where I'm going to end it for this week. Because again, next month, we're going to continue because I have a lot more to show you. But the team leader, virtual assistant calls, success coach, right, with you guys, every single week when you have a new virtual assistant, and then at least once a month, if you need more, we are open to more. Okay. And really, you should be going over these with your success coach. You know, what are your bottlenecks? What do you need help with? How are you doing? We always have things that we're going over and we can bring to you as well. Any personal development or any, do you need help with your virtual assistant? Because we're always here to help you. So that you want to make sure that you are on those every month. If you need a new success coach, we can get you a new success coach. Okay. Because we want you to be on these every single month and you take away and say, man, I'm so glad that I spent that 20 or 30 minutes because I learned something or I took something away from it to help me with my business or my virtual assistant. Okay. And then basically, we're going to end here. We're going to talk about the KPIs development. I'm going to just show you real quick what we're going to talk about next time. We're going to talk about KPIs. We're going to talk about trackers, examples, holding accountability, communication best practices. We're going to also talk about what they should be. This is how you should be tracking daily, monthly, project. The breakdown of how long does it take them. This is when you're figuring out how long it should take to do everything. Okay, that they do. And you need to track that because you can figure out, am I giving them too much? Am I not giving them enough? And you should be doing this. We do this all the time. How long does it take them to do each thing that they're doing? Okay, so we know. And then the job descriptions, going over those and what those look like. We're going to show you what we do in training. Okay, so hey, I know that Kristin and Mark do this in training. Do we want more of it? If we want more of it, I need to go to Kristin and Mark. So this is for our marketing assistant. We do like 30 different kinds of training for them. This is our customer service and database management. We do a ton for that. We do 120 hours. Okay. And then ISA, inside sales, and onboarding process. So we're going to go through that. What did the start of the day and end of the day possibly can look like for you if that's what you want. Okay. Everybody's different. What is the daily and what kind of different project management? Everybody should be using it. What does a 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day look like? Okay. And what are the milestones? I want you guys to look at a management assessment and a leadership assessment. And we're going to give those to you and see how you're doing and see how your team's doing to get better in those. Then I'm going to show you exactly as a CEO what you should be doing. And also as a COO, who are you and what should you be doing? Okay. What are all the things? And then what are the questions that you should be asked? What should they be good at? So I'm going to go over all that. What should their ideal profile look like as a COO? And then I'm just going to let you know right now. So that's what we're going to discuss next month, which is going to be Wednesday, March 5th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Next week, not next month. Next week.
Mine is next
month. Yeah.
I'm going to finish. So I'm going to start at KPIs and I'm going to finish how to manage your VAs effectively. Was this helpful for you?
Just remember next week, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Wednesday, I'm going to have Mel Bull from Viralish on. She's the content director, for Viralish, and they do over 1 billion with a B, billion views a month on their social media accounts. And so they're going to give you an idea for business owners on how to create content. And not only create content, but how to create content that people actually watch. Yeah.
And that is going to be next Wednesday on the 12th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure. She is amazing. She's going to show you exactly what they do. We learn stuff. That's why Mark, I think, has gotten so good at his videos because they're
Mel's the one that I did a video and she's like, I had just posted it 30 minutes ago. And she goes, that's going to take off. And literally it's at 1.3 million views. Because when I had posted it, it had 300.
I think that because they're one of our coaches, one of our video coaches, and I think she's the reason why Mark is so good at what he does, has gotten so much better. So don't miss that next Wednesday. And then my second half of Managing Virtual Assistants will be on March 5th at 12 p.m. And then Mark will have his at March 12th. So just mark your calendars for these. Again, we are trying to build our 5-star reviews on Stamp Staff and would really, really appreciate you giving us a 5-star review. Last time, like 5 people did it. If we can even get 5 or 10 a month, we would so appreciate you guys giving us a 5-star review on our Stamp Staff, and that's right here. Any other questions, Mark?
Nope. Just give us some feedback, because like the feedback's great. That's how we figured out, because a lot of people ask about, like, one of our calls, they had asked for, well, how do you create content? So that allowed me to reach out to Mel, talk to Mel, and try to arrange a time for her to come and do it. So if there's feedback on stuff that you like, we usually know people.
And just put a link in there for topics or feedback in here. Remember, Mark and I are always working with so many different coaches and mentors, and we have so much information that we can share with you. We want to share with you what you guys want us to share with you. And hopefully, if you guys need help with your virtual assistants on any of the stuff I talked about today or any other thing, you just reach out to the Success Coach and we will help you. Okay. The first thing that I just, again, wanted you to take away is number 1, what should that job description be? Number 2, what are the things I need my organizational chart to know? What are they accountable for? I need daily. I need my start of the day detailed, my end of the day detailed. Am I giving them enough work? So I need to make sure that I'm doing time frames of everything that they're doing and how long it takes. If I'm not sure, I ask the coach, I ask the Success Coach, hey, does this look good? Okay. I need to make sure that I'm getting on those monthly calls with the Success Coaches of them to help you out. Right. And then, am I having weekly meetings in each department? If it's just you, that's okay too. Have a meeting with yourself. Have a meeting to just get yourself on track to put your goals together. Did you guys look at this and say, wow, this is really, really overwhelming at what Kristin taught today? Be honest. Was it really overwhelming for you? So I want you to take it little by little and say what, yes, yes, okay. But I want you to take it little by little, okay? And I want you to go and say, okay, what do I need first? Do I have job descriptions? Do I have step by step how all the things that they should be doing daily, weekly, monthly, project work? How long does everything take? How long does everything take? Do I have an end of the day and a start of the day? My organizational chart, do I have a meeting in each thing? But people ask, how do you do it, Kristin? This is how I do it. What I'm showing you step by step of exactly how I personally do it. So I do not have, now you guys say, how do you do everything that you do? This is how. I don't. I spend 2 to 3 hours a week on things I have to do.